Welcome, everyone, to our coffee chat today, Better Together, how sales and proposal teams win more with AI. This coffee chat was kind of organically came up with internally on our teams because we were finding that our sales and proposal teams were actually working so well kind of as guinea pigs for our AI tools, and it was really helping their process. So we thought, why not kind of showcase what we're doing, kind of hear from you guys in the community as well. But that's a little behind the scenes. With that, I want to introduce myself and our team. My name is Helene Johnson, but I work on the Academy team, and I have the pleasure of putting on these great events and connecting with you all almost every month. And I am joined with two very special guests today, Lidia and Tim.
Yes, very happy to be here today. I have been working in sales for over 15 years. In encounter RFPs very early on in my career, I started working with construction companies, and those RFPs, those bids are quite something. So very excited when I joined Responsive 2 years ago and truly helping find a solution to that RFP problem.
I'm Tim Nicklas, Senior Sales Manager of our mid-market sales team. I recently rejoined Responsive and bring over a decade of sales experience, mostly in the trenches, working directly with clients. And similar to Lidia, I kind of started cutting my teeth into RFPs in my first role, but within the transportation industry. So very experienced in responding to RFPs for a long time. And I'm always looking for ways to start making the selling process easier and more efficient. So I'm excited to talk about how AI has helped our sales and proposal teams work better together and ultimately win more.
So, what to expect? We are going to start off by talking about at a high level why sales and proposal teams working together is so important and how our different tools come in. Then we're going to showcase 4 different AI features, kind of fake scenarios, right? Not fake, I guess, real scenarios that sales teams run into. And we have cameos from all of our sales teams in little videos. So I'm excited about that. We're going to talk about best practices when using those tools as well. So if you have them and you're wondering how to optimize, or if you don't have them and you're kind of curious, hopefully that will cover all of our bases there. And then we'll have a live Q&A. So send your questions in throughout. Like I mentioned, the team will be answering, but we'll also have a live portion at the end. So Tim, do you want to start off of why sales and proposal teams working together is so important?
Yeah, let's do it. So let's start by acknowledging something we all feel when we're on the front lines, right? When sales and proposal teams are not aligned, it shows, right? Your customer notices. The misaligned messaging can create confusion. Scattered content means we're not always putting our best and most compliant foot forward, which can impact things like longer sales cycles, more internal churn, stalled deals, and even lost deals. And so today we're going to talk about the opportunity around like what if AI could eliminate these silos and accelerate every deal in your pipeline. In fact, Lidia, your team had a scenario just this last month in June when AI was able to support you in having consistent messaging with the proposal team when they weren't available. Do you want to share that story?
Yes, I would love to. So this is a good example of how sales and proposal teams can partner best together. You know, we have our proposal team here in Responsive. They help with our most important, biggest RFPs. We usually go by dollar threshold, and then we enable our sellers to respond to certain RFPs, maybe when they don't have enough bandwidth or when the dollar value is not big enough. Or in the case of this story, when it's a federal holiday, it was Juneteenth, and unfortunately, we had a seller that had an RFP that was due the next day. We scrambled a little bit to get to the RFP. When it got to our proposal team, of course, they were off for Juneteenth. So we were a little bit on a scramble. But what we did is we enabled all of the self-serving tools for our seller on that instance, and they were able to take a stab at this RFP, answer it within less than an hour. They had the product finalized to be able to send it to the customer. We turned it in time, and we should be learning by tomorrow if we have won that RFP or not. But it was truly an example. It's like, hey, yeah, my proposal manager deserves a day off. It's a federal holiday, but I have a motivated sales rep here that wants to go after this. Why not take the best from both worlds and take every opportunity we can to earn more business?
Yes, I remember when that was happening in our Slack channel, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is perfect example, Lydia, for the coffee chat." Because we all have different motivating factors, right? I know a lot of you on the call today are on proposal teams, and you have already experienced working on the weekends. That's probably why you purchased Responsive so you didn't have to anymore. But also on the sales side, they're going to chase every deal that they can get, and they should, right? It's for the whole organization. So I think that really articulates the need for enablement between teams and then tools that can help that. So to kind of illustrate that, as I mentioned up top, we're going to walk through 4 different scenarios, and we are going to discuss like examples of how different tools are able to help within those specific use cases. So we're going to start off with something called Analysis Agent. And for those of you who are haven't heard of Analysis Agent, that's okay. It's one of our newer products, and it's actually in our early access program. So I think a few of you on the call, I've noticed that you're in the Analysis Agent EAP program, as we call it. I'm curious to see how you've been using it. But basically what it does is it's going to review your RFP documents and give a simple summary of the key details. Think like pricing, technical requirements, deadlines, etc., so that both sales and proposal teams can quickly understand what's needed and even decide if the deal is worth pursuing, right? Rather than waste their time if it's not going to be able to work out for whatever reason. Tim, I know when we were planning this coffee chat, you were super excited to talk about Analysis Agent because your team's been using it and loving this feature so much. Can you talk a little bit more about it and the impact it's had?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with a real world scenario that probably many of you are able to relate to. Now, I'm a salesperson, and sales doesn't always have the best rep with proposal teams. We're well known for always trying to take the path of least resistance. And I can be the same way sometimes. So I'll confess that in my life, I have once received an RFP that I didn't fully understand and was 80% sure that it wasn't the right fit for us. But I thought, maybe this is a sleeper opportunity that can help me make my quarter. And if I send it over to the proposal team, they'll totally understand it and be like, yep, this is how we respond to it. In reality, though, those are time sucks for me, but especially for them. An analysis agent has been a huge game changer for this. Now, the easiest thing for me or for my team to do is when an RFP comes in, we give it to the analysis agent to run a quick analysis. And within seconds, we get a quick high level summary. We understand the scope, the blockers, the timeline, everything we need to make a quick go or no go decision. And so the tools completely changed how we quickly qualify opportunities. So we're no longer bogged down by things at the top of the funnel that we shouldn't be working on and that our proposal team should not be working on as well.
Yeah, and we actually have a member of your team, Tim, Andrew Mofford. We're going to have a cameo from him showcasing this in action. So let's hear from Andrew.
Hey guys, my name is Andrew Mofford, and I'm a senior account executive here at Responsive. I'm here because I just got an RFP that I need to respond to. And before I start working on it, I want to know if this is even a good fit for us and whether I should take the time to respond to it. So I'm going to use our analysis agent to do that. Let me share my screen. So right here, I see I have my analysis agent. I'm going to go ahead and select that. So sometimes these RFPs can be really, really long. This one's, a couple pages long. And if I spent the time reviewing each requirement, it'd probably take me a while. So I'm going to have the analysis agent run this instead and see what it can come up with for me. I'm going to upload this RFP to the analysis agent, and I'm going to ask it to analyze this RFP for me. And now what it's going to do is it's going to scan this entire document and hopefully help me build a set of key requirements, timetables, and decision criteria that are important for me to understand before I start responding to this. Looks like the analysis agent has begun working for me. And I see on the right-hand side here, it's already showing me the purpose, the scope, the schedule. Let's see what else it's coming out with for the pricing, the billing terms, the evaluation criteria, the submission requirements, special clauses. This is great. So now instead of having to scroll through this entire RFP document, I can see what the important dates are, what the decision criteria are, and I can now decide whether this is something I want to spend the time responding to or not. Thanks, everyone.
All right, that was our first cameo from Andrew. Yeah, so in terms of analysis agent, I'm already seeing some great questions come through the chat. So I'll try to address those as I'm talking about these tips. So the first one is going to be like uploading clean files. Think your PDFs with clear sections. not just scanned images or jumbled formats. That's going to be the best way. We actually, for those of you in the early access program, with this latest release, we didn't have Excel files supported, but now they are. So if you are using it and waiting for that, it now supports PDF, Word, and Excel. Another consideration when utilizing this is to make sure that you're having your sales team review it with a critical eye, any red flags as well, because of course you can get the information, but if you're just not doing anything or just ignoring the information, it was kind of pointless, right, to do the analysis agent. And then don't forget, you can use the Canvas tool to edit and collaborate within it. So you don't have to you can actually like interact with the analysis agent, which is super helpful. Now, I saw this question in the chat. Something in the current state of analysis agent, remember this is on our early access program, so this might change. But for right now, once it's enabled, everyone gets access. So you can't specify for specific users. So if you haven't rolled this out to everyone, I would recommend making sure that your team is trained on utilizing it. Again, it's not a huge training uplift, right? As you could see from what Andrew was doing. But that's just something to consider. I'm curious, Tim, was there anything that your team, that there was like a learning curve or anything with analysis agent that you picked up with, or was it pretty seamless to roll out?
No, it's super seamless. I mean, yeah, you put it in and we get the information that we're hoping to get from the proposal team just right there, readily available. You can ask it additional questions. So super helpful from the start.
Yes, and it's super helpful that it now does Excel because sometimes those are the RFPs that we really don't want to look through. Okay, we are going to talk about now AI Draft. So AI Draft is a part of our answering agent suite. Not to confuse you, but it's one of those features within it. And it's going to help you quickly draft first drafts of RFPs, questionnaires, and other responses that you're uploading in responsive, utilizing your trusted content, aka your content library. And hopefully the idea is that if you run this first pass, then if you're a proposal team, you can focus on refining the content, writing really great responses, and your sales team can keep that moving forward, which I think a lot of people want to do. Lidia, I know the account managers love this feature on your team and use it a lot. Can you share about how that's been such a game changer?
Yes, AI Draft has been a game changer both for sales teams and proposal teams. I know we have a lot of customers on the line that are using it today, so feel free to chime in to talk about how great it is on the chat. But for us, like I was mentioning earlier, right, our proposal team doesn't always have the bandwidth to do all the work from start to finish. So when they are in the office, not a federal holiday, this is what we will leverage. We will start with AI Draft, after, like Tim described, we run the analysis agent. Then we do a first pass with AI Draft. Because from there, we know what kind of customer we're talking to. Is it in the security space? Is it on the construction space? What tone can we give it? And we can already start with a much more unified first pass that then our proposal team looks at, reviews, make sure that everything is compliant, make sure that the tone actually makes sense from what our proposal team that does this in and out. It's accurate and good to go, but it gives them a place to start. They start with already a half-built RFP, and then we tag our reviewers, we tag authors, we tag SMEs for any question that we may need an additional tap on the shoulder. But it truly has helped us to cut sales cycles, answer more when our proposal team doesn't have the bandwidth, and ultimately have a better foot forward for responsive with unified tone, making sure everything is compliant, everything is up to date, and we have the latest and greatest to show to our customers, like I know a lot of you guys are using already.
Yes, it's a huge deal when we got AI Draft, especially compared to, obviously, legacy auto respond is awesome too, but AI Draft, all the features is so amazing. And I know actually, Lidia, on your team, we're going to have a cameo from Bruce Duffett. So he was actually a CSM prior to coming on your team. So I wonder if in the chat, if anyone had Bruce as their CSM prior. He was actually on my team too in the past. So he's going to talk a little bit about how he uses AI Draft. And I think he did a great job also because of that CSM background.
Hey everybody, Bruce Duffett, account manager here at Responsive. In today's video, I'll show you what I would do to take a first pass at a proposal using AI Draft. Now, in my world, I work with existing business. So frequently we'll get an RFP from an existing customer that is exploring a few different options out on the market, right? And for us, if we're coming up against a renewal deadline, time is really going to be of the essence. Our proposal team, like many proposal teams, is a very lean team. So oftentimes they're not going to have the bandwidth to go through everything soup to nuts in the proposal. What I'll do to take a first stab at it for them is I'll upload a project, just like the one that you're seeing before you right here, and I'll activate AI Draft in the upper right-hand corner. Now, I can choose particular sections. If I want to point the AI to a very specific part of the content library, I can lean into how things are organized already: tags, collections, custom fields. I can also tell it to be written in a particular way if I know I'm speaking to a particular audience. For example, I could tell this to be written in UK English, let's say. I'll generate answers. The system's going to take just a second to run here. I can minimize it as it runs, and I can continue to work in another area of responsive if there's other work that I need to do. But if not, I can just hang out and let the answering agent do its thing. Now, it's still loading for us right now, but what we're starting to see is where it's pulling the information from. The preferred approach is going to be to pull exact matches if it can find them. That's what you're seeing with this book icon right here. If not, it's going to write based on relevant content, which is this sparkle icon that you're seeing. With any of these responses, we'll be able to see the audit trail of where it's pulling the answers from. It can pull from multiple responses. It can read through documents in addition to Q&A pairs. So if there is something buried on, page 5, paragraph 20 of some technical documentation, it'll be able to reference that. And you can connect outside sources as well if you want to connect it to your SharePoint or your Google Drive. Now, we can review within this pane if we want to. And if we like what we're seeing, we can start to apply things one by one. But my preferred approach is actually to apply everything at once. We can select all of the sections and apply them over to the project. The reason for that being is that we're also going to have an editing view once we apply it over to the project. So if I click into the answering pane, we can see that we can now edit directly within this pane. We can activate the AI assistant if we want to rewrite anything using AI. And we're still going to have that audit trail that we saw before, right? This silhouette of a light bulb, this indicates that it's written based on relevant content. So the second option, it didn't find an exact match, but it did find stuff that's relevant. And we can click through to see what it referenced. From here too, I can assign reviews at a section level. That's typically what I'll do. So I'll select all sections. I can manage users and then assign reviewers over to my team. I can also comment in anybody that I need to. So if I do have a specific question related to a particular question here, I could mention, say, my colleague Sriram and say, hey, can you please help? He'll receive an email notification and he'll be prompted to come in right to this in the project pane. Anyway, this is how I would take a first stab. As we can see, we took a first pass at this questionnaire. We answered 100% of the questions, really just in a couple of clicks.
Awesome. So that was Bruce showing us AI Draft. Did you guys see what I mean with his CSM background? He's very good at explaining, I think, all the little nuances that maybe on the sales team you forget about. But yeah, there's some considerations, of course, when utilizing AI Draft that I think are important to point out, especially for those that are currently using them. So, of course, the first one is guiding the AI draft with instructions. So you can actually prompt the AI draft. I don't know how many of you were on our prompting coffee chat last month. It was super fun, but you can provide it prompts either at the org level. So if you have a certain tone or company voice, as Lidia was mentioning, that's really easy. So your sales team doesn't have to be prompting it every single time if you do it at that org level, but you can also prompt it within the project or within the AI draft tool. And you can also use filters. I think Siri had an issue where that wasn't filtering correctly. I'll flag that for our product team, but don't forget, you can always reach out to support too if that's happening to you. It shouldn't be. You should be able to filter based off different categories like your tags. And what's nice about that is you can pinpoint the different sections of the RFP. So if you have a really lengthy RFP, or maybe you're an organization that has different product lines, et cetera, you can pinpoint the AI draft to search within those different areas of your library versus looking at the entire library holistically, which is going to help your responses. There's also a consideration based off what your team is set up like. Maybe your proposal team has a process in place and they want to use AI draft. They don't want the sales team coming in and utilizing that. That's totally valid based off your workflow, but you'll just want to establish that with your team members just to make sure everyone's on the same page. So maybe it works great when sales does a first pass, or maybe the proposal team would prefer to and just have sales kick it off in intake or any of our integrations like that. And of course, it's important to, as Lidia mentioned, it's getting a great first pass for her team, getting that RFP mostly filled out. But if you're a proposal team member on the call today, you understand you have a critical eye. You might have years of experience of doing this where you can spot different things and able to curate it specifically and make it extra special for that client. Maybe fix up the formatting and the tone. You can always go through after. It's not like the first pass is the only pass that you need with AI draft. I keep teasing you guys with all of these releases, and I double checked with my team, but now you're able to edit directly within AI draft as of our latest release. So before, as Bruce was showing, he was editing within the proposal answering page. Now with this latest release, you can actually edit while you're in the AI draft pane. So if you have a sales team that doesn't want to go into the answering page, now they don't have to, which is really awesome. And if you want to hear more about any of these releases I'm talking about, our product update is next week. We'd love to see you there. But yeah, so of course, that is AI draft. And now we're going to talk about guided projects that you can actually use AI draft in. And guided projects is another one of our newer tools. And with Prashant, as I mentioned, he is from our product team. He's the product owner of guided projects. So we are ready for your questions on guided projects. But they are basically a step-by-step AI-powered workflow in the platform that will allow whoever's running the project through the entire process from start to finish. And the goal of this is to make it really easy for your sales teams to manage responses independently on their own. So it can guide them through the process, even if they've never used responsive before, hopefully reducing delays and getting some of those projects that you might not have had the time to address. But Lidia, can you talk a little bit about the value you've seen either on your team or working with teams with guided projects?
This is this area that I mentioned at the beginning, right? This is the true self-serve. Like, we know you guys are busy, don't have the bandwidth for all of it. So we want to enable your business to be able to respond to those additional projects based on the content that you guys are maintaining. Like this, we haven't mentioned this. I saw a comment on the chats like, hey, the content, the curation is the most important. And that's what you guys do on a day in, day out. You're maintaining that database of responsive with this great content. What if we could leverage that to enter a few more questionnaires, a few more RFPs, a few more DDQs that your sales reps can handle from start to finish? My team does this, like I said, under a certain dollar value or when the RFP team is busy, but they can still put like a framework into place where the proposal manager would get to review that last part before it gets sent out to the customer, if that is the process that you would feel more comfortable with. In other areas, a sales leader can be the last one to sign off. Yes, then this can be sent and we respond. And then from there, it's much easier interface as well. This is why it's more tailored for salespeople. Salespeople in general, we're very money motivated. But then on the flip side, we don't always love learning new technologies or new softwares. So for this one, your sales reps don't actually have to go into responsive. It's like a little different, more simple interface. So they don't have to learn all of it. They just need to, through a few clicks, like Enable tells you, like prompts, click here, do this, do this here. And it's much easier for everybody that we might have like that technology adoption friction or that change management. I know it's also very important in our space.
Yes, and to show it in action, we have one of our senior AEs, Ryan Slee. I don't know how many of you have worked with him. He's going to show you this whole process in action.
My name's Ryan Sleep. I'm a senior account executive here at Responsive, and I've just received a security questionnaire. Not an RFP that I need to collaborate with a bunch of people on and write a long response to. A long, complex security questionnaire where I might need to bring in different experts, but pretty question answer based. And I don't want this to draw out my sales cycle. I want to get this back to them so I can start moving to the next step in my sales cycle as quick as possible. Thankfully, Responsive provides guided projects to help me facilitate getting responses to all of these questions in a very quick and efficient manner. So let me go ahead and share my screen and show you how I would accomplish this. So I'm logged into Responsive, and I'm just going to click on Guided Projects right here and add a new project. Upload my document, which in this case is this Excel document. Fill out some basic information, our due date, and proceed. And our AI agent is going to go through and summarize this project, identify the key requirements. And that's because if this is a Word document, it's important that we're all on the same page and that we're identifying these key requirements. So after I review these right here, I can click proceed, and our AI has gone through and actually started mapping the specific questions on the document. And when I say mapping, it's identified which pieces of content are sections, questions, where my answers go. And you can see it's actually smart enough where it knows that this tab is a cover page, the other one is where my content is, to make this as efficient as possible. If I need to make any changes, I can. Most of the time I don't, which is wonderful. So then I will proceed from the file mapping, and now I can choose where I want my content repository to recommend answers from. And this is really important because oftentimes in security questionnaires, the answer to the same question might differ depending on the region or the product or the services I'm offering. I don't want to have to spend a ton of time going to each product manager or double checking every response. As long as everyone's updating the content library like we should, I can control where my answers are coming from and know that I'm getting the most accurate and addressing the key concerns right from here without needing to loop in everyone and manually follow up on every single question. Once I define where I want my content recommendations to pull from, I can proceed. And this is where our AI agent is going through all of those sections and questions that I had previously mapped and answering them for me. Ideally, we get a ton of responses back. Ideally, we get all of them back. But what's fantastic about this is as I'm seeing these reviews and recommendations take place, it's not just I'm done and stuck with these answers. You're going to see that I have a review screen here as well, where I can see where in the content library we recommended this response. So if I come down here to our AI section, I can click on sources and say, oh, this is the content in my library that's answering this question. But I can also rewrite different things, provide different controls if need be, adjust these answers to better relate to these questions right here. I have a lot of functionality here to tailor and even personalize my responses if need be. If I absolutely do need to bring in someone and ask for help to review, I have my comments feature right here. This view is much more streamlined. My peer will receive the comment, can reply back to it, so that way I know that I'm on the right pace. And then directly from here when I'm done, I can just export this right out of responsive. I definitely want to make sure I'm including attachments. If I want to export back into an Excel, I choose my source file here. Or if I want to put our own marketing and branding on it, I have the option to export to our templates. But just like that, I export. And that's how quickly I can get through the security questions, no matter how complex, to make sure that I'm moving my sales progress forward as quickly and efficiently as I would like.
Awesome. So that was Ryan kind of showing us that full process in action. And as Lydia mentioned, and you could kind of see in the tutorial, but there's pop-ups and you're being guided through that whole entire process. So in terms of if you're trying to determine if you're a good fit for guided projects, there were some things to consider. I got this directly from Tara, our who is on our SRM team. But of course, you'll want to consider if your organization has a lot of high volume, repeatable requests to start, if it's a good fit for your org. And that's usually what we're seeing is, I think Lydia too, with the account management team, like sometimes it's a current client that you guys already have, and they might be sending something through for whatever reason, and you can put it through guided projects. Also defining internally of when your teams can self-serve and when they can't. So some projects might be, hey, we're perfectly fine with you to go ahead and put this through. Other ones might be more complex. Maybe it's multi-product, it's a really big deal and you want it to go through your typical process. It's just important to establish that in your standard operating procedure if you're going to be utilizing guided projects. And of course, you'll want to train your field users. It's a little easier to train them on guided projects, right? But there is those different AI features within it, such as AI draft. So it's just important that your team knows that they can take advantage of being able to filter, that it's coming from your content library. I saw some questions of why would we use these tools other than than, I don't know, Chat GPT or something like that, because it's coming directly from your trusted content library and not the entire World Wide Web. That's one reason. So your team, if they're understanding that they can use these different AI tools to draw directly from their content library, that's going to make it all much better when they're using it. And then, of course, just to sum it up again, that requests complexity as well, just to analyze that. And please feel free to send in those questions. Like if you're utilizing it right now, and if there's anything that was on your mind, Prashant is in the background. This is his tool. So be nice to him and ask him any questions that you have. I know we've been waiting for this one internally for a long time. But with that, we are going to end with a bang with, I think, everyone at Response's favorite tool. It's my favorite tool to use. And I know our sales team does as well. And this is Ask. And Ask is going to let you quickly answer any ad hoc questions and craft your responses, whether that be to an email, to a proposal, etc. It's really cool because you can set up external sources for it to look for as well. I believe it's up to 10 now. And yeah, Tim, this is one that you're super excited about. You want to talk about how your team's using
Oh
it?
yeah, Ask is my absolute favorite. It's the very best. It's great for adoption for sales teams who you want to start using responsive but haven't adopted anything yet. It's phenomenal. Like I mentioned before, I like the path of least resistance. Ask gives me and my sales team that. When I rejoined responsive, I had a ton of questions after being gone for a year, right? Things like, where do I find our latest messaging? Things like, what's the process for X? Or what are our competitive differentiations against company ABC? And historically, I would go to people like Tara, who leads our proposal team, or other subject matter experts and ask these questions. I'm sure that Jessica and Laura, you resonated before when I mentioned that we would just throw over RFPs to that team to have them analyze it. I'm sure you can resonate with salespeople just asking you a bunch of questions. And every time I asked those questions internally, the first thing I got back was, did you ask? It's kind of that, well, let me Google that for you, or you can just Google that yourself, right? But it actually pulls from your vetted, approved, trusted content from your content library. So on live calls, we're using this to answer technical questions. Maybe somebody asks about our Microsoft Dynamics integration and asks a technical question that we just don't know off the top of our head. Great, we can quickly ask. Or if we get a bunch of technical questions in email around hosting or encryption, rather than reaching out to those different subject matter experts and trying to get that response, or finding it in the content library, we can just ask like, hey, I got these 3 questions, and it can respond to it right there. So from my perspective as a sales leader, this directly translates to fewer internal escalations, faster responses, increased deal velocity, and ultimately consistent messaging across our org. Because now my team can respond like Tara, who leads our proposal team, or Sundar, our CTO and founder, right there from Ask. And selfishly for myself, it also helps shorten onboarding dramatically, right? New reps, when they join, they don't need to know everything. They just need to know where to start, is that starting point. And I think that's super powerful.
Yeah, I'll even say sometimes on the webinars when we don't have our technical product team to support us, we are like, oh my gosh, we need Ask right now to help us out. But with that, I'm gonna pull up one of our videos, our last one from Quinn. He's gonna show us a situation where he used Ask.
Hi everyone, my name is Quinn McNabb. I'm account manager here at Responsive. In my day-to-day sales job, I get emails like this all the time. Maybe I did a great demo, but the prospect has a few follow-up questions for me after we get done. One of my favorite features of the Responsive AI suite is called Ask. And Ask allows me to quickly have all this information right at my fingertip. So I can simply copy this list of questions that I got from prospect, open up Responsive Ask straight from my desktop, and have it answer these questions for me. Now, the great thing about Ask is once it comes up with this response for me, it's going to show me all of the sources that it used so I can vet this information. And then also our trace score here. So this is the confidence that the AI has in the response that it was able to give me. Seeing the sources and seeing this 100 trace score, I know I can trust this to send back out to a customer. Another great thing about Ask is that it's fully conversational in nature. So now we have this response, but maybe it's a little bit longer than we'd like. So I can say, make this more concise and bullet point the answers. So Ask is going to shorten these responses for me and then reformat these to make a nice clean bulleted list. can see we have a much cleaner output here that's, more suitable for me to send back in an email. Now that I have this, I can even go one step further and say me an email to a customer and ask, I'll take all this information that it just gave me about all of our AI agent features and be able to put this in a clean email that I could just copy and paste and send directly back to my customer. You can see the output that you get here. And now what might have taken me, several hours to track down all the right SMEs to get these correct answers and write all this information myself, just took me a matter of seconds to quickly get this in a format that I can send back and keep this opportunity moving along.
Oh, right. And yeah, I saw in the chat that so many of you are using Ask. That's awesome. There are some considerations, just like all of them. The first one is, of course, is making sure your content library is up to date and has the correct information. If your content library is out of whack, then if your rep goes to ask a question and it tells them back something incorrect, then they'll lose trust in it, right? And maybe go back to their old habits of, slacking an SME directly. So making sure your library is up to date. If you're a responsive client, we've had a great coffee chat. I mean, we have them every year about how to clean up your content library. And even some agents now are going to be being used to kind of clean up your library for you, but just making sure that it's up to date. If you are like, Helene, that is super overwhelming. I don't have time to clean up my library, but I want my team to start utilizing it. You can create a collection of your content library and have all of your sales reps within that collection so that when they go to ask, they're siloed to an area that is up to date and correct, but also start utilizing it. For our team, I would go in there and ask questions about live training. And if the question was incorrect, I would flag it to Tara on the proposal team and be like, hey, you guys don't have this information. I don't see a source that's pulling from, or this is incorrect. And that way, the next time I went to ask, it would be correct because she would go in and update it. So don't be afraid to, roll it out and then have your sales reps flag it if they're seeing something that's not correct there. And we can talk a little bit more about this in our Q&A because I know we're getting to time. But in a wrap up, we talked about sales and proposal teams today, but really responsive AI can help every team win. I think, Tim, you gave that example of our HR team having asked. Now we don't have to bottle them down with requests. I think they're coming out with their time saved here shortly. Even like revenues and ops leaders, we have a coffee chat coming up in September that Tara, who we've been talking about today, is going to be discussing a lot about the reporting aspect and how utilizing these AI agents have saved a lot of time. So if you're interested on that side of things, be sure to join there. I think Mimi put that in the chat. But Tim, do you want to talk about our 4 takeaways before we get into the Q&A?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll bring it all together. This is kind of the rapid fire takeaway. If you just want the cheat sheet, screenshot this of which AI agent is the right fit for which challenge. So if you're trying to assess an opportunity quickly, analysis agent, it gives you that instant AI generated summary that highlights the key requirements, blockers, timelines, perfect for those go, no-go decisions without wasting a bunch of hours. If you have a security questionnaire that you want to respond to quickly, or a simple RFP, go with guided projects. It helps you draft, manage, and review in one single workflow. Very easy to use without all the back and forth from other team members if you are able to do it just yourself. If your proposal team is buried with other proposals or it is a holiday, like what happened with Lydia's team, you can use AI draft. Sales can get you to that high quality first draft without the proposal team needing to do that. So they're just needing to go in and review and refine from there, not starting at ground zero. And for all those day-to-day questions that come up, both externally and internally, like encryption specs or integration details, Ask is your best friend, right? It surfaces that approved, accurate content right there on the spot. These tools are not just powerful, they're super practical. We use them every day. One of the big advantages is having it all within one platform. Whereas historically, organizations that I've worked at, they kind of had disjointed processes where they tried to do all these things. With Responsive, you have it all in one platform. I'm biased, of course, but it's really, really helpful for my workflow.
Awesome. Thank you, Tim.